Why do people build on other people's land? This is the question people ask me, and they're asking me for different reasons. Some are outside the industry and they're like, I don't get it. Why would you build on someone else's land? And sometimes they're people that want to build a Renaissance fair and they're like, how do I get people to build on my land? I don't get it. And it's kind of like the mall premise in that we'll date myself, if Spencer Gifts wants to rent a space in a mall, Spencer Gifts has to pay to build it out to look like a Spencer Gifts. And so that piece is similar. These vendors have leased some space and they're building the shop they want to sell from. And one of the odd things to understand about the industry is that these are individual craftspeople and artists and service providers. And they have decided that this is a good investment. It is a reliable return space for them to sell out of at a strong show. But really the thing that has to be there for people to want to build on somebody else's land is confidence. Confidence that the show is strong, confidence that the management team knows how to promote a show and will get the right customers, not just customers, but the right customers in front of that shop where they're building. And then it's also an artist I was talking to, I ran into an artist we were at a friend's wedding a couple weeks ago, and he referred to it as the pension plan because it's a safe place for him to put his money and not spend it. And then when they're no longer able to apply their craft, they have 4 shops scattered at festivals around the country that they can trust that they're going to be able to sell for at least what they have in it. And that is related to booth maintenance. It is related to the strength of the show. It's related to whether or not people can get juried into that show. Sometimes there is more, just like any housing, there's more supply than demand, and sometimes it's vice versa. So what you can get for your shop is related to that, just like in regular real estate. Many shows will have some input on what you get to charge. They may say that you can sell your thing for replacement value less the cost of repairs. And then after that, you could then get a bidding war happening if supply is short. And if there's a bunch of shops for people to choose from at that show, either because it's just a year that a bunch of people retired or people are getting out of that show, then you can't charge as much for your shop. So, like, if a vendor doesn't have the confidence that the show is well run or confidence that they're going to be allowed to sell their shop when they're done using it, then they're not as likely to spend the money. Now, it's not easy to build. You have to meet building code. You have to fit it into a timeline. And if you're a vendor that does a lot of different shows, your timeline can be tied up. You know, it might be hard to find the time slot to be able to get a new shop built. So what works better is to spend time and money maintaining your shops. One of the things that I hold true, and we held true when I was building coordinator, is if something about the building code changes, the management team of the festival that's related to buildings, whether that's a site manager or it's the vendor coordinator or a building coordinator if they have one, they need to relay those changes to all the crafters that own shops. Because if they can step by step stay ahead of these places where building code is tightened up, then they're not looking at a major expense when a big inspection year is coming down the pike, or they're about to try to sell it and suddenly they have a long list of things that they have to change. When the Georgia Festival decided, the electricians, the fire department decided that all of your wires had to be hidden. And there's a lot of unfinished walls in these facades. You know, no one sees what's inside large sections of the Renaissance Fair. And so there may be unfinished walls, just studs and the exterior. And that means that if you ran electricity, you can see the wire. So this means you either need to sheathe the wall or in some other way cover the wire. It might mean switching to coax cable instead of Romex, and that would count as covered. This becomes a big deal in kitchens because they tend to have a lot of electricity run around, and interior walls didn't have a reason to be finished. The insulation in here is not going to do us any good. So when those kind of rules come, that's the year that we need to go make those changes. Because otherwise, when you go to sell, if you're selling for cost of replacement minus cost of repairs, those repairs can be pricey. So you want to kind of stay ahead of it. You also want to keep fresh paint on your shops because that makes your building last longer. You want to keep good shingles on your shops because anyone will tell you that a good roof has a lot to do with how long your building lasts. Now, one of the things about Renfairs is that you should have pretty steep pitches like this. The steeper your pitch, the less often you have to re-roof. So that's why it was true 600 years ago, and it's why it's still true now. So these are just things to understand about this weird little economy that gets built at permanent park Renaissance fairs. The festival owns the land. The artists build or buy their shops. And so this is one that's under construction right now. I'm at the Texas show. This one's been here for several years, and they have this really neat, like, open courtyard, but they have to put away everything every night, so that doesn't sound fun to me. My kitchens are right over there, that way, which this is backwards, so that doesn't matter to you at all. So ask me anything about buildings at Renaissance festivals. I'm pretty sure I am still the only person in the country who has had the official title of building coordinator at a Renaissance fair. And although I've been consulting site managers and vendor coordinators around the country about that niche specifically for decades now. Talk to you soon.